Saving money is never going to get you anywhere in life. Take it from me, I've been living at home my entire life. I've yet to move out. I'm 22 years old. I'd say I've saved a good amount of money for a person my age. But guess what? The moment I move out, all that goes to shit. Right when I move out, all my savings are going to start to dwindle and dwindle until I'm back at break even. And then all the money that I make from my job is just going to go straight to bills and I have no money. So like saving is never, you're never going to out save yourself. You got to find a way to make more money. You can't just rely on one stream of income from one job. You're going to have different ways of making money. I've yet to find any, but I'll let you know when I do.
One of my biggest regrets in life is prioritizing saving over investing. By the age of 24, I had saved almost $40,000 and I was too focused on buying a car in cash, which I did, and getting my credit right and saving for a home instead of investing all the money I ever saved up until that point. If I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self, invest all your money. We're still on the right track. However, I feel like the compound that I could have accrued in the market would have been way more than the $40,000 saved in cash and whatever return my high yield savings account was going to give me.
Facts, I agree. I know a trader, he turned $30,000 into over $5 million. She had 40 bands. She could have done something similar if she has the experience in the market, the time in the market. She has a strategy that works. Her discipline is on track, a great risk to reward per trade that she's taking. She's talking about the markets. I'm talking about the financial markets, trading, options, or Forex, or futures. I feel like something like that could have been done as well. You know, seeing is believing. Seeing one person do it, you know, the next person can do it. Oh, well, trading's not for everybody. Only 1% becomes profitable. That's true. So it could have went either way, honestly. She could have either made more or she could have been in a worse predicament depending on herself and, you know, how things went in the markets. But I'm a firm believer that you will win in the long term. You only fail if you quit, you know what I mean? But let's keep it moving.
I hate the financial advice that just tells you to save money because one, I think intuitively everybody knows that you need to do that. But two, I think it also ignores the current economic context that we're in. And I want to talk about why saving feels so pointless right now and how to kind of rethink that when you're thinking about your own money. So saving money relies on delayed gratification, and delayed gratification only works if you trust the delay will pay off in the future. So if you are not confident in the future, whether that be because of the current economy, because of political instability, climate anxiety, it's very, very hard to justify to your present self that you should be saving money. And the psychology here is very well documented. Humans are surprisingly good at adjusting their preferences based on environmental stability. So in unpredictable environments, present consumption becomes rational, right? Like you take what you can while you can. And your brain is very much adapting to signals that the economy keeps sending right now, which is why you're very hyper-focused on the present. And this also is just exacerbated by our news cycle and just how many notifications we have. And I think so many of us are living in a state of like almost ambient dread. And that makes long-term planning feel pointless, right? And a lot of this then becomes self-fulfilling. You know, if you don't save because the future feels unstable, you are going to be more unstable in the future because you don't have the savings and you're more vulnerable to instability. And the anxiety sort of proves itself right. So then that creates a sort of feedback loop. But what you need to understand is that the instability is real, but so is adaptation. And so I'm a big fan in this environment of starting small and building in as much optionality and liquidity as you can. And so you want to think about your finances as just giving you freedom to make choices, you know, whether that be investing in skills, building relationships that can help potentially provide that security, and just giving yourself more options. And I'm not arguing that you should save because you trust everything's going to work out, but because you trust yourself to navigate whatever's coming.
Don't just save to save to invest, right? She talked about skills. Yes, it's always best to invest into your skill set. Invest into yourself. You are your greatest investment. That's the term that I crown. And I feel like that. I believe that. Investing into yourself, whether that be through coaching, mentorship, learning a high in-demand skill, that'll always outweigh saving. Inflation will beat out that. You know what I mean? Like inflation will topple over your savings if you're just saving it to save it. You know, I hope y'all get what I'm saying. But if you save to invest, you can scale at your own pace. Whenever you want to scale up to the next level, you can go to the next level once it starts working. Right? So you don't got to wait on a raise. You could give yourself a raise by just spending more on ads. Let's say you run a business, an e-commerce store or something like that. You spend more on ads. If you're spending 100 per day and getting back 500, let's say you spend 200 per day and you get back 1,000 per day. If you're a trader, let's say you're risking $200 per trade, you're making back $600 per winning trade. Now let's say you risk 400 and you make 1,200. You know, that's scaling up. But money's just a tool, y'all. Money is a tool. It's the vehicle that gets you from one place to the next in life. It allows you to do a life upgrade if you invest it correctly. You know what I mean? That's all money is. Money is nothing more than a tool. It's something you could use to make more. I use my profits to get some more profits.
I'll probably get dragged for this, but investing in real estate is the worst investment I've ever made. 5 years ago, I bought into the idea that real estate was one of the best ways to build wealth. I obviously don't believe that anymore. The thing is, everybody loves to romanticize appreciation, cash flow, and the idea of passive income, but almost nobody talks about the hidden cost that comes with owning an investment property. The mortgage is the smallest part of the conversation. What people don't prepare you for are property taxes that continue to increase, insurance premiums, maintenance, unexpected repairs, and the constant stream of expenses that slowly chip away at the return everybody loves to advertise. Then there's the assumption that your property will appreciate over time. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Markets change, neighborhoods change, regulations change, and none of those things guarantee you'll get a return on your investment. The biggest surprise for me, though, wasn't even financial. It was the mental and operational burden that comes with being a landlord. People love calling rental properties passive income, but there's nothing passive about managing tenants, coordinating repairs, keeping up with regulations, and making decisions that can cost you thousands of dollars. Because you're not just buying a property, you're taking on the responsibility of running a business. And like any business, it demands time, attention, and emotional energy. And the truth is, the return on investment looks far better on paper than it does in real life. Because spreadsheets don't account for the stress of dealing with difficult tenants or months of unpaid rent or the uncertainty that comes with owning an asset you can't simply walk away from. And if I knew 5 years ago what I know today, I would have invested my money very differently. I'm curious though, after hearing all of this, are you still considering buying a rental property?
My 10K mistake, let's talk about it. So I was looking at the stock market, trying to find the most overrated stock with bad fundamentals, revenue dropping, what's the most overrated stock, and I came down to the conclusion it had to be Tesla. So what I did is I put a put against Tesla, just saying that Tesla is going to go down. I believe the put was down to 350 or 355. I pushed it out into August because we know around like September is typically when the stock market is at its or starts going down. So I said, you know what, let me put a contract far out. I paid about 50 something dollars. You guys can see right here. My dumbass decided to sell out of the option. I don't know why. I just sold out of the option. I looked at the option last night. The option is now worth this much. So I lost $10,000.
He missed out on the opportunity to make $10,000. He got out of a good trade, is what he's saying. He didn't lose anything. He profited, but he missed out on making 10 bands. You got to be smart. You got to trust your trade. If you have confidence in that trade, you know what you could lose. You know what you could make more than you anticipated on making, but you know what you could lose. You got to be willing to take that risk. And, as he's learning, if he would have stayed confident in that trade, then he would have made 10 bands. He didn't really lose 10 bands. He missed out on the opportunity.